I want you to watch this video about David.
I'm dating this young lady that I meet in college. The relationship became sexual very quickly. And very soon afterwards, she comes to me with news that I wasn't ready to hear, that she was pregnant. It was weeks later before she had the abortion. So the morning of it, she calls me and she asked me the same question she's been asking me for weeks. David, do you think this is the right thing to do? I did say, yes, I think it's the right thing to do. And later on, afterwards, we talk on the phone, and I can't even understand what she's saying. She has been traumatized by what she has gone through. She is crying. And I knew, even though I wasn't a follower of God, I knew the decision that I made was actually choosing my life, my dreams, my plans above this baby. I knew it wasn't a blob of tissue. So that immediately brought a lot of guilt and a lot of shame. I would go into depression, very deep depression, and not know when I'm gonna come out of it. And I realized it's because of my selfishness and my sin. That day in the midst of my apartment, all alone, I felt like the presence of God met me. And for the first time in my life, I bowed my knees before God. I asked Jesus Christ to forgive me for my sin. I rose up with a peace that I had never known in my life before. At this point, I'm thinking I'm a man whose life has changed. You know, I'm Christian and I have a wife who is a Christian, and so things should be different and be better. But there's some other things that I'm realizing that are still in my life. There's this tremendous anger, and it was affecting us. It was affecting our marriage. It was affecting my relationship with our kids. About 15 years since I've been walking with Christ, I ended up taking a position to be a chaplain of an NFL team. And in the process of that, I have a conversation with this guy. I never shied away from any parts of my story. He goes, David, how have you allowed Jesus to heal you from the wound of abortion in your heart? I said, I've never specifically asked Jesus to heal me of that wound. So he goes, can I do two things? Can I send you a book? And then the second thing is, can I set you up with a male peer counselor to go through an abortion recovery Bible study? And I said yes to both of those things. And God began to minister to some of those areas of anger and depression and to begin to lift those. And he's transforming me and making me a better husband and a better father. But it was years along the way. And it took really another man to point out to me that there might be a connection between what you experience with that abortion and some of the pain and the hurt that you're experiencing in your life. So I would say, don't hear this and walk away. If you don't do anything, this will continue to affect areas of your life. But if you allow the light of Christ to shine into that dark place, he can begin to bring healing, a healing that will not only be for you, but it could affect your relationship with your wives if you're married, with your children. You know, God cares about the preborn baby, and he hates the shedding of innocent blood. But God's heart is for more than that. God's heart is for the mom and the dad to have an encounter with the author of life so that their lives are radically transformed by the grace of God.
All right, here we go. All right, this is your moment. David is with us tonight. David, it's so good to have you. Yeah. Awesome. Give it up. David, so often we forget about the post-abortive man and his emotions, what he's feeling, those kinds of things. There's also the whole issue of what men should stand up and do. So in that regard, what did you learn from that experience?
Yeah, well, what I learned is abortion not only kills babies and hurts women, but it hurts men. It's a loss of fatherhood, and it's a huge hurt that brings a lot of pain and suffering to men, and I know it because I've experienced it personally. And yet I know, Jim, the awesome forgiveness and healing and grace of Jesus Christ that can transform lives, and God, by his grace, has called me to minister that grace to other men and other families that have been impacted by the devastation of abortion.
Why do you think men should be engaged in this? You know, so often those on the other side are browbeating men that you don't have a right to be in this discussion, this debate.
Yeah.
Why do we need to be there?
Yeah. Abortion isn't a woman's issue. It isn't a woman's reproductive rights issue. It's, you know, a baby comes to be because a man and a woman came together in sexual intimacy. And so that man is a father of a preborn child, just as that woman is the mother of a preborn child. And men need to know that that baby is fearfully, wonderfully made by God, that that baby's life has value and dignity, and as men, we're called to stand up and protect that. But that man also needs to know that the author of life, the one who formed that baby, is also the one who has formed his life. And even in the hardest situation of his life, that he doesn't have to walk through it alone, that there is a God who sent his son to shed his innocent blood so that he could be forgiven and he could know God as his father and then have the courage to do that which God has called us to do as men, to be protectors, to be defenders, to be providers.
That's it, right there. That's awesome.
Amen.
You know, David, I focused on the family. We did a film series a while back, and there was a woman in there who was part of the 60s, 70s feminist movement. And one of the things she said in that film that really caught my attention, she said, the early feminist movement, what we were about was acceptance. But through abortion, through the pill, through really releasing men from responsibility, what we got was abandonment. Wow, is that powerful? David, you volunteer for Save One.
Yes.
And we have wanted to honor you and your work in the pro-life movement. So at your request, we're going to make a $5,000 donation to Save One. And here's the gift right here, along with that. So give David a hand.
And thank you, Jim.
Yeah, thank you, David. I appreciate it, bro. Thank you. Take care.